Thank you. This is quite scary for me because although I've told the story privately many times, I've not told it very publicly. So I don't know if I can take responsibility for the consequences, to me or to you. This is a story about dreams coming true. This is a story about making your dreams come true. This is my daughter's story as much as it is mine. And my daughter is here in the audience tonight, and I will call her up later so that you can meet her. I want to tell you something a little bit about her and her story before I tell you mine. My life is divided into BC and AD. BC is before child and before China. AD is after daughter. Tonight you're going to hear the BC story. Maybe another time I'll be invited back to tell you about after daughter. My story takes place for my daughter in our home country, which is the People's Republic of China. This is the village from which she comes. I call it a village. It looks like a village. It's a city of 3 million people. It's traditional. It's changing. This is where my daughter was found, where she was left by her parents. This is the family who found her, and who cared for her, and who loved her, and who saved her life. This is where she was taken when she was 12 days old, photographed, and a description of her put in the newspaper asking for her relatives to come forward. We knew that she was special, we were told, because she was dressed in a brand new outfit. This is where she was raised for the first year of her life. This is the woman who made it possible for us to adopt, who welcomed my daughter back, who carried her, who taught her. That is my daughter. My story starts for me a long way away on the tip of Africa. I was born in Cape Town, but all my life I've wanted to travel. My mother said I had a fowl's foot, which meant that I was never at home. I was always somewhere else. Well, here I am. 3 bits of information I think that are relevant to my story are: one, that I dreamed of living in many places as a child. Secondly, I fostered 2 children, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, in my early adulthood. And when it broke my heart to give them back, I vowed that one day I would give a child a forever family. And thirdly, having traveled the world with my husband and having come to Asia late, we loved it and dreamt one day of living here. So my journey started out when my husband was transferred to London with his company, and we decided to start a family. Well, that sounds very easy. For us, 2 years later, we had to revise our plans. I was sitting one day in a doctor's surgery, and a brochure fell out of a magazine. It read, "Coco, care of China's orphaned and abandoned children." I looked at it and saw that there were babies that one could adopt. We had tried to find somewhere that we could adopt from. We wanted a baby. This held hope for us. Why China? Well, we'd been there, we'd travelled, we loved Asia, they had a need, we had a need. 1 + 1. Basic math. I'm a kind of girl who tends to kick doors down when I can't get what I want. So I set off on a journey. I Googled, as one does, and found out an organisation called the Overseas Adoption and Support Organisation, checked that I qualified for the criteria. I contacted the British Home Office and said, well, I'm a legal alien, do I qualify? Yes. I phoned up our local council and said, would they consider us for a home study? Now, the story that you will hear sounds as if that's all I did. I lived a life and I travelled the world for work, and in between, we made this happen. So 4 months previously, we had decided that in the absence of children, perhaps it was time to take on another country. My husband was headhunted for a job in Dubai, and we said yes. And two worlds collided in December. One was a road which would take us to certainty, to an expat life, tax-free sterling. The other, a road of uncertainty and the possibility that we would be considered for a home study. I also have a habit of choosing the road less travelled, the road of uncertainty. That's the road we took. Well, we were told that it was going to take 8 months. That's roughly the time of a pregnancy. That's manageable. 8 months later, jaw-clenchingly later, we had just completed our home study. 2 months after that, rubber stamped by the Department of Health. And finally approved as for an inter-country adoption of a baby girl under the age of 18 months. The next thing that happened was we prepared to send our papers to China. The usual legal stuff you have to do, translation into Mandarin. And suddenly we received a checklist which said, just check that you have to provide evidence that you are either residents or citizens. We were neither. We were now a year into this process. The Home Office requested clarification of our status, and I phoned up, and the very nice man in the call centre said to me, no, I never told you that you could adopt. Well, I cried out of frustration, gnashed my teeth, and then kicked another door down. I wasn't giving up. I wanted to keep the dream alive. Our council advised us to speak to our local MP, and he was as good as his word. I'm sure that's the reason he's still in Parliament. He took on the Minister for the Home Office in the UK, who was sacked from his job eventually, and we received a letter of apology, and the law was changed. So now it was 16 months from when we'd started. So it was a kind of double the length of pregnancy. And our documents were sent to China. 22 months into this process, the Chinese authorities requested clarification on our residency status. The British consul in Beijing took on our case, and we received confirmation that we would be considered for adoption since we were permanent residents / citizens. We were neither. Back went a fax asking for clarification. In came a fax asking for evidence of permanent residence. Ping pong, you know, the national sport? Well, I was forearmed. 2 months earlier, I had decided to apply for permanent residence. So I had my sticky piece of paper in my sticky paw, but my husband didn't. Would they accept this? In the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning to be precise, I heard a fax coming through, and the fax said, "We regret to inform you that you will not be considered as adoptive parents." I was absolutely devastated. We had invested 22 months of our lives. We had put careers on hold. We'd given up countries to go to. But I'm a kind of kick down doors kind of girl. So went to work that day, came home in the afternoon to discover another fax. "We are delighted to inform you that you have been given the opportunity to adopt." Back went a fax requiring clarification. Back came an apology and confirmation. Now we were really pregnant. 3 years later, on the 22nd of December, almost to the day, we received notification of the allocation of our baby. This photograph came. That photograph came. Don't you just love it? That photograph came. And that. We didn't understand the medical report, but given the chance to say a tick box yes or no, we said yes. And then waited. Soon, an invitation to travel came from the Chinese government. We got our visas and then fumed because Chinese New Year was getting in the way. Everything had closed down. So I went out and bought some things, some basics. I was too afraid to hope that finally after 3 years our dream would be realized. The only thing I bought was a stroller. And we were a very peculiar couple getting on an aeroplane with a stroller and baby bags and no baby. London, Beijing, internal flight to the city where we were due to adopt my daughter. We got off the plane to be met by our translator who said, "Would you like your baby tonight? She's waiting at the hotel for you." Well, I freaked. I'd waited so long. I was jet lagged. I thought, I can't do this. We said, "Thank you, but no thank you," and then spent a sleepless night knowing that my daughter was lying somewhere in the hotel. As we lay there that night, we just talked about everything that had happened, the sacrifices, the crises, the disappointments, the frustrations, and that the next day was going to be D-Day. Would it be worth it all? We knew we'd love her. We were worried that she would love us. So D-Day dawned. We set off with our paraphernalia, and we waited around on the 11th floor of the building, and we watched babies being adopted. We watched parents put little Gap Oshkosh outfits on their kids, take them off. We watched babies very passively go to their new parents. We watched babies scream and sob uncontrollably as they were wrenched from the arms of their carers to be given to their new parents. We waited for 2 hours, and suddenly the lift door opened and a cute baby appeared. This cute baby was wearing this little cap, was wearing these little boots, was pretty much dressed like a Michelin man. Had on this coat, underneath it was this, underneath it was this, underneath it was this. The bottom was a diaper, and this, you all recognize these. Then this, and finally this. I thought it was a little boy, but no. Our translator came back and said, "That's your baby." And then we went through a whirl of photographs, signing documents, promising to love her forever. And this baby was really cool. She just looked at us, up and down, didn't smile, didn't cry. She was giving us the once-over. And even since then, I've had the feeling that my daughter's humouring me, and she's been around the block a couple of times. We gave gifts on the way to the notary office to sign the documents that would make the adoption legal. My daughter slept in my arms. She weighed 8 kilograms. We took her back, laid her in her crib, and just looked at her. Only at that point did we know that our special daughter had been delivered, and my life after daughter was beginning. I'd like to call my daughter up so that you can meet her. Son. I'm incredibly proud of my daughter, and my hope, I know that our journey continues, and my hope is that wherever her parents are, that they will know that she is so loved, and that they too will always be welcome in our family. Thank you very much.